It's easy to assume that George Soros is a radical left-wing ideologue, seeing as how he spends hundreds of millions on his various left-wing organizations, each of them having the express intent of promoting what he calls open societies. According to a book that Soros published back in 1987, he doesn't believe that open societies provide the solution to anything. Instead, he claims that they cause too much instability.
In this way, the traditional mode of thinking is associated with tribal society, the dogmatic mode with totalitarian society, and the critical mode with open society. Needless to say, I was very much under the influence of Karl Popper. I opted for open society, but the choice was not without qualification. Each form of social organization was found wanting in something that could be found only in its opposite. Totalitarian society lacked freedom. Open society lacked stability. But given our innate bias, a stable equilibrium between the two is just as unlikely to be attained as a stable equilibrium in a free market. Sentiment is likely to swing in one direction or the other.
Soros does not believe that Marxism provides the answers either.
Under the influence of Marxism, the pursuit of the optimum led to the total abandonment of the market mechanism in large parts of the world. Even in market-oriented economies, the state was given a large role in correcting the imperfections of the market mechanism. Gradually, the harmful side effects of state intervention have become increasingly evident, and the prevailing bias has swung back in favor of free markets. We are quite willing to recognize the fallacy in Marxism, but we are much less inclined to admit that the theory of perfect competition is imbued with a similar fallacy. Both are built on the assumption of perfect knowledge. In one case, the assumption produces market equilibrium. In the other, it finds expression in an unconditional prediction of the course of history. It is worth pointing out that both theories originated in the 19th century, when the limitations of knowledge were not yet recognized and science reigned supreme.
So what does Soros want then, you might be asking? His true ideology is one of highly regulated global trade and multilateral nuclear deals, which will be set by a world government wherein China retains the most power and control.
The reorganization of the prevailing world order may have to extend beyond the financial system if we are to make progress in resolving issues like global warming and nuclear proliferation. It may have to involve the United Nations, especially the membership of the Security Council. This rather profound process needs to be initiated by the United States, but China and other developing countries ought to participate in it as equals. They are reluctant members of the Bretton Woods institutions, which are dominated by countries that are no longer dominant. The rising powers need to be present at the creation of the new order to ensure that they'll be active supporters of it.
He also believes that the real underlying cause for global instability is unregulated multinational corporations.
The crisis we are in was created in the private sector. It's by deregulation and globalization that the financial system was left on its own, and it grew like cancer, and it became far too big and extracted far too much of the profits produced by the economy for its own purposes. It was up to 30% of the total earnings, profits in the U.S. economy were in the financial sector. That was unsound.
You might be confused as to why Soros spends so much money funding causes which lead to instability if he claims to dislike it. He does so because he is able to capitalize on the instability in two major ways. First, in the marketplace, where he has amassed billions by crashing economies.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he also capitalizes politically because after the economic wreckage, he's then able to use the opportunity to push world government as the solution, what's known as order out of chaos. The entire operation fits the dictionary definition of a racket because Soros is offering the solution to the same problems that he himself plays a large part in instigating. And I'd be willing to bet that this scheme fits the legal definition for a racket as well. In 2016, the Obama administration went after 90 conservative think tanks with bogus RICO charges. Maybe it's time for Trump to return the favor.